Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ismaili history 306 BC. Marriage of Muhammad, peace be upon him. A high-placed widow, Khatija, who had acquired in pre-Islamic days by her virtue the titles of Tahira, the virtuous, and Sayyidai Quraysh, the princess of Quraysh, hearing of the righteousness of Muhammad, entrusted to him the sole charge of her business. He accepted an office in the service of Khatija and was immediately placed at the head of a caravan and sent to Syria, accompanied by Maysara, one of the slaves of Khatija. Before long, much profit accrued to her through his honest dealings. The personal attributes and moral grace in Muhammad attracted the attention and won the admiration of Khatija. So honestly, Muhammad, peace be upon him, did transact the widow's trade that she caused a proposal of marriage, which met the approval of Abu Talib. Thus was he married at the age of 25 to a widow 15 years older than himself. For years after his marriage, Muhammad, peace be upon him, would frequently take a provision of dates and oatmeal for food and retire for days into a cave he had found at the top of cone-shaped mountain called Hira, some 3 miles from Mecca. He used to spend night after night in that solitary cave, far away from all the worldly turmoils. Here he eagerly pondered and contemplated in long and lonely vigils to search after one and only God. His periods of loneliness became more frequent and his vigils lengthened. He prayed ardently, opening his whole heart to his Creator, whom his soul longed to meet. He became so fully absorbed in the ecstasy of his devotions that he would remain for days in the mountain cavern. Often his beloved wife brought him food. This went on for a considerable length of time, till at last, in his 40th year, a great unseen was revealed to him. The light of God was fully reflected in Muhammad. The earliest sources relate that the moon on that day of the eve of Ramadan enwrapped Hira. The birds were still in their nests, and not a sound or movement disturbed this heavy quiet. It was though as everything were pegged to its place and nothing existed save the heavens and the earth. Tonight, a few roaming shepherds had seen Muhammad, peace be upon him, go there. Now there was no one else, only the sky and the earth and the crescent moon between them, rising sometimes aloft and sinking to the edge of the horizon. Khatija was sorely worried at first, but soon regained her composure and comforted him. "Fear not, my noble one," she said, "but rejoice. God will not forsake you in this affair nor expose you to shame. For you are good and kind and truthful. You are hospitable to the passing stranger. You aid and comfort the poor and the lowly, and support the virtuous in righteous deeds." Waraka bin Nawfal was Khadija's cousin. Wearing of idolatry, he was on the lookout for a true faith and had at length embraced Christianity. Probably she had heard him talk of the appearance of the promised prophet, the comforter whose advent had been foretold by Jesus. As soon as she found Muhammad called to that office, she took him to her cousin. No sooner did Waraka hear what inspiration Muhammad, peace be upon him, had received and how, than he spontaneously exclaimed, "This is the very angel Jibrail that God sent down to Moses." Hence, the foremost to profess faith in the truth of Muhammad's mission was his wife Khatija. Edith Holland writes in the story of Muhammad that it was in the desert that Abraham, journeying by the guidance of the stars, came to the knowledge of all-powerful God, far above the vain idols of man's imaginings. Moses, during his long sojourn in the wilderness, never doubted the near presence of a mighty God, a sure help in time of trouble. In later years, the Prophet of Arabia, wandering among the barren hills of his native lands, saw in the wonders of nature sure signs of the greatness of the Creator, and there came upon him the conviction that God is one, the Eternal, and there is none like unto him. We must pause here for a while to focus a key point that no formal prayers had been instituted then, no month of fasting was ordained then. The law of Islam itself had not been promulgated, the Islamic Sharia was not yet enforced, but Muhammad had reached to that lofty stage of spiritual involution that his soul had acquired eternal bliss. His soul had realized the truth for itself. When the evolution of his spirituality had reached a high stage by self-abnegation and self-surrender, he was chosen by God to be his messenger to his people. With the message of Islam, he was commissioned to set the best example to humanity. Highlights of the year 308 BC will be discussed in the upcoming video. Stay tuned.